if you remember, Victoria got chased off the road by some cops about 6-8 months ago. And they were just going, "Ah!" They pointed at her and told her, "Get the hell out of here." However that went, she tells a story. It's not for me. But this one, she got a ticket yesterday. She's going through a school zone and she's doing 25. And she's driving, and I don't think it's clearly marked in that school zone where the school zone ends. And she's well beyond the school. And so she picks up the pace and gets up to the speed limit. You know, speed limit's 40. She's doing contemporary community standards -1. She's doing 44. It's written on the ticket. Yet on the ticket, it's got all the things you could check. One of them is warning, speeding. And it says on the ticket, doing like, the warning was for 16 to 20 miles an hour, the speed limit. I think that's what it was. And she got a warning for that. The guy's like, I stopped you. You were speeding. She's like, I totally believable. She thought she was through it, and she picked up the pace. And so he takes her stuff and goes back to the car, comes back and gives her a ticket. Didn't even give her the whole Harvey Keitel approach, out of Bad Lieutenant. He just gave her the ticket, which is unbelievable to me, but I have to go with the story I hear. And not saying that, in Bad Lieutenant, that didn't happen. He just screwed with a woman to make her cry. Come on, man. That's the part I don't believe. He didn't screw with her, make her cry. He was just having a good time, just smart ass cop. And so on the ticket, it says, warning, check, for doing 16 to 20, 21 miles an hour over the speed limit. Because she was in a school zone, it dropped from 40 to 25. And she's there at 44 thinking she's in the right. It's on the ticket. I'm not sharing anything that's unreal. And yet, the thing she got fined for is impeding traffic. How was she impeding traffic without having been pulled over in the first place? You know how much traffic gets impeded by guys like that? That are just pulling somebody over because they got to meet their quota, like Karen McCann and Gary Smith, betting each other they can write more tickets that night when they go out of the room. Be careful out there. Be careful, my ass. Just write everybody up. Let the judge sort them out. So the thing is, if they're saying she was doing 16 to 20, 21 miles an hour over the limit, and then as a warning, and then as the fine, the one that's checked the fine is for impeding traffic. What I've learned in these defensive driving classes and things that I've had to take through the years, didn't have to, But I thought it would probably make my life easier, so I did what they asked me to do. It's not that hard till you get to the depths. I say you take them to court. Always take a ticket to court. Always. Because they're going to build that stuff up on you. They're going to build it up on you like getting fired from McDonald's and you're seeing your fun friends and flexible hours, that classic, what do you call it, civil action suit I have against McDonald's going on, because when I got a job at McDonald's, they said, fun friends and flexible hours. And every time I was having fun, they told me get back to work. And when I was with my friends, they split us up because we were having too much fun. And then when I called in drunk on New Year's weekend, they fired me. Why did they fire me? Because they said there was a pattern. Because the first week I worked there, I was in transition between Glenn's Market, cleaning the bakery, and McDonald's. And I told them at McDonald's, I said, I've got these hours, and I gave them my hours that I had to work over the next 2 weeks, and I'd work on the days when I wasn't working there. I'm the quintessential worker. I gave them everything they needed to know. Yet they had scheduled me for a day when I was working at Glenn's still. I was in my 2 weeks notice. And I don't even know if I knew it at the time that they'd scheduled me that day, but then I heard about it. Where were you? I'm like, what are you talking about? So when they fired me for calling in drunk, which I could have easily just walked in and puked all over the grill, but I thought it was probably better for business if I didn't show up that day. They, not knowing the alternative, thought otherwise. And they fired me for flexible hours. They said there's a pattern. And they said, you've missed work before. And I'm like, and so what I'm saying is you have to fight everything that they put in front of you. Every chance you get. Because what it does, it builds. They say there's a pattern, there's a pattern, there's a pattern. And so I'm trying to convince her she has to go to court for this. Because what I learned in my defensive driving things was the idea that impeding traffic is 15 miles an hour. And the guy that was teaching the class, humor for driving or something like that, you got to pick which one you went to, 8 hours on a Saturday. He told us, you got to be careful. He'd been pulled over. He got the job because he'd fought so many damn tickets in his life. The judges got sick of seeing him. He told us all the ways to get out of tickets and all these things. He was so good at it, he was beating everything. And finally the judge said, I'm not letting you get away with this anymore. You need to teach a class. And so he taught us all the things, how to get away with stuff. It wasn't a bad day of learning. But it was the same thing. He talked about being pulled over and getting impeding traffic while he was going between stop signs coming around a corner and hadn't seen the new speed limit yet. And so he's trying to follow the old speed limit as he knows it, and he gets that. And here she's getting charged with, it takes 15 miles an hour below the speed limit for you to get charged with impeding traffic. And for her to be in a school zone, which is 25, she would have needed to have been doing 10 miles an hour to be impeding traffic. And instead, they write her up saying she's doing 44 miles an hour on that thing. How is it possible that there's even the impeding traffic thing there? It's totally mistaken. It's misunderstood. It's mind-bending to me how the guy can warn her for going too fast, 16 to 20. She would have been doing 34 miles an hour faster for her to be warned for the speed she was doing than what she was doing when they find her with impeding traffic. And it makes me wonder, what are you charging me with? I've got this piece of paper. It's the whole avoidance behavior. Shocking a dog. The electric cages and everything when it eats. God, I thought that was going to be good. And next time it doesn't get the shock. And then the next time it gets the shock, you don't know where it's coming from. And then pretty soon they just sit in the corner and shake. Is that what they're trying to put on my Victoria? Avoidance behavior? Are they trying to make her afraid of authority and to turn against it because there's no order in what they're pushing on us? And I say, take it to court, baby. I mean, I look at it and I go, I'm so confused. I tell her that's what she's got to do when she goes into court. And the judge is probably old enough to have seen Rebel Without a Cause with James Dean. That was my James Dean impression with that Leonard Maltin or whatever the hell that guy is that was in Streetcar Named Desire that wasn't getting any. The one that would have been good for the woman, but she wasn't interested because he wasn't aggressive enough and wasn't a rapist. That's in Rebel Without a Cause. James Dean is... I'm so confused when he sees that guy walking around in an apron and taking care of his wife. And it's the 50s. The guy doesn't take care of his wife. The wife takes care of him. He was just freaking out. And then next thing you know, he's having knife fights. And it's like, I'll tell you, that movie, I watched it. It wasn't as good as they make it out to be. It's such an iconic thing. There's a picture from it. But I would say if I were to pick a movie, I would go one higher. I would go with Deke Rivers. And I think that's an Elvis Presley movie. He's walking in to a little town in the night in the beginning of the movie, and he's going by a cemetery. It's like walking up Morgan Road where it turns to Ohio Street, North Ohio Street. There is no South Ohio Street. That is the weirdest thing, too. It's just North Ohio Street with an N and a dot. Where's the South? Is that where we get on the train to Muggleburg? I don't know what the movies these kids are watching are. And so that's the one. He's walking in and he looks at a tombstone and he sees Deke Rivers written on it, on this tombstone. I think he slept in there that night. I'm not sure. It's been a long time since I saw it. But it was Elvis. And so what he did, he took the name off a tombstone and walked into this town, into a town diner with a bunch of kids, you know. I think he probably sang. I can't remember. But he went by Deke Rivers. And that is a little bit better of a movie in my memory than Rebel Without a Cause. So if you're looking at Rebel Without a Cause, maybe you need to sit and think, what can I look at? Is there a cause? Is there a cause I should be focusing on? I just don't know. I say she takes it to court and just says what we're all saying these days, and I think it would stand up. I'm so confused.